The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Cowboys Storylines with Nick Eatman.
What's up? It's Cowboys Storyline. I'm Nick Eatman. It is Tuesday, September 26th. Episode, I'm just kidding, we're not going down that road, but that's Derek's thing on the break. But this is Cowboys Storyline, and we are moving on here. We're moving past tough loss. You know, it's funny how that happened. Cowboys beat the Giants in week 1, 40-0, and I was like, we can talk about that all day. I went the next week still talking about it, but you know, you lose the game in Arizona, you're like, okay, moving on. Let's go to the next game, and rightfully so. That's what they need to do because nobody cares. The New England Patriots don't care what the Cowboys are dealing with or the game from the week before. They're going to come in here trying to win, and they got a Hall of Fame head coach ready to do that in Bill Belichick. So it should be a good game. He's not the only person coming to town. How about Ezekiel Elliott? That's going to be fun to see him. I think everyone still roots for him and wants him to do well, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing that Zeke's career has gotten to that point where he leaves the Cowboys, but still there's a lot of respect, and I think it's mutual from both sides. But that will be another storyline for the game. The big thing for the Cowboys is going to be if they can just get healthy, especially at the offensive line. That was a factor, obviously, in the game the other day. Anytime you lose 3 guys, it's going to be tough to replace, especially all at once. And if one of them is Zach Martin, and then of course Tyler Biotish and Tyron Smith. I mean, all of those guys have made the Pro Bowl in the last couple of years. So that's the big deal for the Cowboys, just seeing if they can get healthy again and get ready to go and figure out how to fix some of these red zone problems, how to stop the running quarterbacks. I don't know if Mac Jones is going to be in any relay races as far as speed goes, but I mean that's not been the thing. It's been breakdowns on defense and letting the pocket collapsing and letting these guys take off, and he can probably do that just like any of the other guys have done. So that's going to be another thing the Cowboys have to shore up. But I'm going to let you guys talk about it. 888-855-2297. Let's get right to the calls here. We've got Darian in Houston. So Darian in Houston, you're the first up.
Hey, how's it going, Nick? Love the show, man.
I'm good, man. Thank you so much.
Man, I think we're going to be all right. Look, I know you said we're moving on, but we've seen in the past that the key to beating this defense is either like running right at Micah or taking him out and running away from him. And I feel like our linebackers got caught out of position a lot this past week. And part of it is that smaller hybrid safety getting blocked a lot. So going forward, would you want to see Micah maybe moved around to linebacker? I know they made him a full-time edge, but he's just our best player. I feel like moving to linebacker would probably get him flowing the sideline to sideline and stopping those runs, maybe filling some gaps.
Yeah, I think that's a good call, and I like where you're thinking here. I don't know if they're going to do that. Okay, I'm not sure that they're going to move Micah to linebacker because they do want him rushing the passer as much as you possibly can. But what I love about this call, Darian, is the fact that you're coming up with a solution. That's a lot of times people have they can figure out the problem. I can tell you where the problem is. Okay, cool. What are we going to do about it? And so at least that's an option. Do we want to move him to linebacker? Now what happens then? Do you not get as much pass rush? I think what you have to figure out, and this is always what coaches have to weigh in, is what are we losing by not having Micah rush all the time versus having him play linebacker? And so I think the drop-off between a guy like Micah and Marquise Bell playing linebacker is a big drop-off there. I mean, it's a big difference as opposed to maybe rushing Sam Williams more off the edge or Dante Fowler, Dorrance Armstrong. So I'm still rushing Micah Parsons a lot. He's going to rush the quarterback, but I don't hate the idea of moving him even back to the second level a little bit because what we know is quarterbacks have to account for number 11 at all times. And so the more you can throw him around in different places, I mean, it's one thing to say he's rushing from over here. Okay, running back, you got the chip. or he's rushing from over here. But if he's back in the second level and he's got the speed, that's what's critical. He's got the speed to rush from there and close quickly. So maybe that's just another wrinkle that we could see here at some point. All right, we got some text questions. Text line questions. Got a few already, so we're going to go to that. About this is on the red zone. I don't have a number here, but just about the red zone. Offensive play calling is terrible. RPO worked as well last year. Make plays for Dak to keep it. Tell him to F and run. Ian from Illinois. Sorry, I missed that part at the end here. Ian from Illinois. Tell him to run. Hey, yes, I mean there's times he needs to do that. And you know, I'm sure it's hard not to think about. When you're Dak, it's hard not to think about the injury that happened to him in the past, and just any injuries as well. You know, you want to head first. You got to watch out for concussions and those type of collisions. So I think you need to be smart about it. But there's times where he did have to run this last game. I mean, there was a couple of plays where I thought he was just going out there and being a football player. That's what he's got to do, is just be an athlete, be a football player, be tough, dive it around, get first downs, move the sticks. That's what you need out of him, and that's what made him so good at Mississippi State. That's what made him good his first few years here, just before he could really kind of develop his all-around game. But I think that he can't just be a stand in the pocket guy, and that's not what's made Dak who he is. So I think he's going to get back to that. He had to kind of run this last game because there was a lot of times where he didn't have a lot of time to throw. All right, more text questions here. This is from Mike in Houston. Please explain what Leighton Vander Esch is doing when he moves guys over on the D-line pre-play. I think what you're talking about there is just making sure they're in the right gaps. I mean, I don't know exactly what you're referencing, but most of the times when those linebackers come up and move, it's just making sure he understands what they're trying to do, where the fits are, and just wanting to make sure. And also can kind of tell based off of him, looking at film, looking at what the other team's doing, what their trends are, what they tend to do on plays like that, if he might need to move a Hankins, a little bit over here, because he can see it a little bit better than the defensive guys. That's what I'm thinking that you're referencing there, just moving some guys around more, left and right. All right. Phone line is open here. Give us a call, 888-855-2297. The text line, 817-290-3298. All right. Patrick from Las Vegas on the text line. Was our problem with the run on defense a scheme issue, lack of effort, execution issue? Also, what kind of plays would you like to see the offense run in the red zone to be more efficient? Let's go back to the first part there. I mean, I never want to say effort. I'm just not going to go there. It's hard to prove. You don't really know whose effort is it's hard to see that on tape. And once you go down that route, I mean, that's really no turning back. So I'd like to give the guys the benefit of the doubt. Effort is there. I don't think you can play for a Dan Quinn defense. You wouldn't play very long if you didn't put in a lot of effort. There's too many guys. There's too many guys that you could play here. So I think what it was really was a scheme. I thought Arizona did a really good job of doing misdirection runs, keeping them off balance, using the Cowboys' strength against them. Their speed, their tenacity, the way they want to get the football, move them that way, cut it back. They did a really good job of kind of getting them to go where they wanted them to go, and then they ran the ball the other way. So nice job there. They also, like we talked about yesterday, and like what one of the callers also said, is the linebackers, they got hat on a hat. They made sure they had bigger guys blocking the linebackers, and that was certainly efficient. All right. We've got Eddie O in Thousand Island, New York. Thousand Island, New York. Eddie?
Good morning, Nick.
Eddie, what's up, man? How are you doing? Good morning.
Long-time reader, listener, first-time caller.
Awesome.
Love the show.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
And thank you.
You bet. I'm after work. So I do want to give a thanks to Chris Beam and Derek for helping to get this going. I kind of feel like back in the day when Seattle had Russell Wilson, it was always let Russ cook. I think the message to Derek was, hey, can we let Nick cook? And I kind of feel like the show is doing that.
You gotta be careful with that. I'm not, I'm not the best at that. I don't want this thing to burn. You know what I mean? But no, I appreciate that. I'm having fun with doing it. It's fun.
I can tell it shows, and I love your stories. I love your demeanor. I appreciate the history because I'm close to your age. I'm a little older. I'm more like a Bob Brunig or Mark Stepnowski, if you get my drift. So I'm a little bit older than you.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
So I guess I want to thank you also for sharing the idea of the Immaculate Grid. I think that's really cool. I've been
playing it every day.
And,
yeah. That's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun when, and if people don't know what this is, I'll explain in a second about it's on Pro Football Reference. But what's fun is when the Cowboys are one of the teams, and then like that's a challenge. Like I got to go with the most obscure player I can think of from the Cowboys and like another team. Basically, it just lines up a grid. It'll have two teams, like Steelers, Browns. You got to find a player that's played for both. And when it's Cowboys and someone else, and you want to go with the most obscure so you can get a low score. It's pretty fun. It's addicting. And it's also baseball and basketball, but I'm not as good in those sports.
But it's a challenge for sure. Like it's tough. Yesterday, I got my first complete grid, which I thought was kind of cool, but it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. So anyway, I did have a question for you, and then it was answered last week when you were hitting your 500 mark, and now you're 500 plus. I was going to ask you what your favorite game was that you've ever been present at and watched. I'm not at 500. I'm up to 12 games. We like to travel nearby when we can, and we've been to Dallas a couple of times. So I'll just share a quick little history. My favorite game was only a couple of years ago, 2021, the overtime win in New England. What a roller coaster of a game, up and down with Diggs getting a pick six and giving up a big play, and Ced Wilson with a fourth down catch, line toe tap on the sidelines, and then CD with a walk-off. Just what an emotional roller coaster that was.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was and also for me, I think that was the one place I had never seen the Cowboys win, because I've been to some preseason games there and a couple of regular season games. Had never seen them win up there, so that was the first time that I had actually witnessed that happen.
Yeah,
it was a good one,
definitely. So, and I thought it tied in because we're getting ready for the Patriots this week. So
that's right.
I would post knowing that you're not only a Cowboy fan but sports fan, football fan in general. Here's a game that a buddy of mine and I play. I'm not a big jersey guy, so when I go to these games, I don't wear jerseys. I'm representing the Cowboys with the colors, but I'm not wearing a jersey. If I was going to wear a jersey in Dallas, it would be Tony Dorsett for certain. But the game we play is, suppose you were going to, I know the game's home this week, but suppose you were going to New England and you had to represent a New England player, what jersey of a player would you wear? And I'll give you mine and I'll hang up, and then later tonight after work, I'll listen to your response. But if I had to wear a New England guy, I think I would rep Ty Law. That would be my choice. Thanks, Nick, for taking my call.
I appreciate that. For me, it would be Ryan Mallett. I think he played for the Patriots. Former Arkansas quarterback, passed away tragically this year in a drowning accident, I believe, for him. And the reason why I say I believe, because there's been a few tragedies for Arkansas players. Alex Collins, another one. Peyton Hillis, he did not pass away, but it was a scary deal also, in the water. But Ryan Mallett, he did play for New England. That would be that's the first guy I could think of there. That's probably not the spirit of your question. I think you're talking about, somebody that you really respect, and the way that they play the game and all that. I'm not a big jersey guy either, but you have to respect what New England's done. I mean, I have a lot of respect for them as an organization, what they've done. Wasn't ever a Tom Brady fan, but I mean, how could you not respect what he's done? And Randy Moss. I mean, I've loved watching Randy Moss, and when he went to New England, he was outstanding. Also, I like Wes Welker as well, and so. No, those are guys there that I like. Good call. Appreciate that. All right, we got Anthony in Roswell, New Mexico is next. Anthony.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm all right.
What jersey do you have? What's your jersey of choice?
Well, I haven't bought a new one yet, but the only one I wear is Des Bryant's jersey.
Nice.
Only one. that I'll keep.
There's
keep
a
around.
ton of that. You know what? I was walking up to the stadium the other day for the Jets game, and it just caught my eye how many Dez Bryants. You see a lot of 88s, and you think it's CD, maybe it's Michael, but I mean Dez is, I think, the most 88 jerseys I think that are still there at the stadium. So, what do you got on your mind?
Well, I think that if you can keep all the fans from jumping off the cliff, I think we'll be okay. The only thing we have to change, I wouldn't change anything about Sunday's game other than just scoring points. Just you're in the red zone, score points other than a field goal, and the defense is not supposed to score points. That's not what they're there for. But I think they got too comfortable with, the defense is going to carry the whole team, which, I mean, it's not possible for every game in the season. Just the offense, I think, needs to pick up their game. And then my biggest thing here where we're at is just keeping our Uncle James from jumping off the cliff, and we'll be okay. That's the barometer here.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for the call. I said it a couple of weeks ago, or was it last week, when there was a lot of talk about the 49ers and how they match up with the 49ers and all that. And I've had people text me, friends of mine, like, do you think this is the next test? And I said it here. I think the test is to get to 4-0. That was the test. It didn't happen. But the test is to every week is to make sure that you are focused. The team is focused on what can happen, because I think this is a pretty good wake-up call that you can get beat. Just little things can happen here. Like, how do you lose to the Cardinals? Well, number one, your talent level can get down and equaled with them if you have some injuries in the really the bad spots, like cornerback, and then 3 offensive line positions. So that right there starts to now you're getting somewhat evened out a little bit. Then give the other team some opportunity for hope. Give them some things to be excited about. They didn't get down like the Giants. I mean, maybe the Giants game could have been the exact same thing, but their field goal wasn't blocked for a touchdown. They made the field goal. They got the ball back again. They scored a few minutes later. It was 9-0, and it was 15-3. And the more the game went on, they're looking at each other like, we can win this game. And they could. And they played that way and played with confidence. So there were things to happen, and I think that this should be a good wake-up call for the Cowboys to realize that moving forward, that the focus has to be there throughout the week, and it has to be there throughout the game as well. All right, let's go to the line in Vegas. Rob in Las Vegas.
Hey, Nick, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you, Rob?
I'm good. Unfortunately, when I look at this team, I just look at the one guy, and, I look at Dak, and I think he's regressed, unfortunately. He's never had arm talent, but he had leg talent, and now he doesn't have that. And he just looks like a guy that's been beaten down. I mean, the media, let's face it, holds the Dallas Cowboys quarterback to a different standard, and he just looks just beaten because let's face it, he hasn't taken his team where we thought they would be by now, and the interceptions. And now I think they call plays like he's regressed. They are afraid to let him throw in the middle of the field, and I don't know if that's Mike McCarthy or that's just him, because that's mostly where his interceptions come. And sure enough, in the game the other night, middle of the field. So I just think I hope they don't extend him. I hope they don't panic and pay him $50-something million, because I just don't think he's worth it. And I don't think he could take this team, to the next level. You got guys now that surpassed him. Jalen Hurts, I never wanted to believe Jalen Hurts was better. I always thought they're kind of the same guy, but they're not. Jalen Hurts in the last 2 years has just pants Dak and everything, running, throwing, and unfortunately there's just too many good young quarterbacks now that are coming out, and they're just better. And I think he's in his 7th year, and unfortunately this should be his prime. This should be his window, and I don't see it. I see a beaten quarterback mentally and physically.
But you called last week, right, Rob? I mean, I think you called last week, or maybe this isn't your first call here. I mean, you called last week as well, but you didn't say that last week. So like you think the Arizona game just like broke him down? Like he's a different person, different quarterback now?
No, I don't think he's been the same person since he broke his leg, to be honest. Like I said, when we saw Tony Romo, we know Tony Romo could throw the ball. Tony Romo was a really good thrower of the ball. He could move. Yeah, he would make some bonehead plays, but he had arm talent. Mm. Dak never had arm talent. But what we liked about Dak is he was a big guy and he could run. He's not even that big anymore. He doesn't even look physically nearly as big as he was. And, Dak made up with it, like a Lamar Jackson. If you're not going to have the arm talent, but if you have leg talent, I could take that. Most guys will. And Jalen Hurts was like that. But now Jalen Hurts has turned into a passer. So all I'm saying is I like Dak. Every Dallas Cowboy fan should like Dak. If he does good, we do good. But he holds this team back. And I see these wide receivers like CeeDee Lamb. I don't think they have the confidence in Dak. They're not going to say it. But I just don't think they have the confidence in Dak like they used to. Because, what else does he need? We got you a really good defense.
He needs an offensive line. I mean, what do you mean? He needs an offensive line.
I understand. I'm not. But see, I'm not talking about just Sunday.
Okay.
I'm talking about for the last few years. He'll have his good games, and it used to be that he would feast on bad teams. And, yes, he would struggle against the 49ers and some of the better teams. But he's not even doing that now. He's struggling against an average team like Arizona. And I get it. They were missing 3 starters.
Okay.
So I'm not going to, hold them totally account. But I just want to know, do you think he's regressed? Because I don't see him.
No,
I don't think he's gotten better.
I think he's a better quarterback. I think he's a better quarterback than he was before. Thanks for the call. I think he's a much better quarterback than he was before. And the reason why is just from an experience standpoint. I think from what he sees out there, I think the offense has changed a little bit for him, but I don't believe in that about not throwing in the middle of the field. He threw more slants in that game than I've seen him throw. That's not exactly the middle of the field, but it could be a pass that gets deflected and intercepted. I do think he needs to play with his legs more. He needs to run. He needs to get the feel for it just a little bit more. That's one thing that I think he can be better at. But I do not think he's regressed as a quarterback. I think he's and another thing, those receivers have ultimate confidence in him. I don't know how you can look at that and don't think that way. They do. They have confidence that he's going to make the play. They're 3 games into this offense. They're figuring this out. It's not going exactly like they thought. There's been a few wrinkles every time. Every week there's just been something that's thrown it off a little bit, and maybe that's going to be the case every week. Maybe it's always going to be something, whether it's the way the game is played, the way your defense, you're going up against a certain defense, but you have a big lead like the Jets, or you're going to play in a downpour against the Giants, or just you're missing guys. I don't know. Maybe it's always going to be that way, but they're still finding their way. And so to put a blanket statement that he's regressed as a quarterback, they don't have confidence in him, I'm not going there. You can. And that's fine. I'm not going there. I don't think that's the case. They lost a game to a team that they should have beaten, but the defense did not step up. The defense wasn't who we thought they were. We thought they were a different team than that. They're not. Because go back and look at last year. They lost Dak. Cooper Rush comes in. Wasn't setting the world on fire, but the defense was. The defense carried them. I think there was a thought that this defense would carry that offense and that team in that game, and they did not. They failed them, and then therefore it was a tough mountain for them to climb. All right, we're going to go to break here. We'll come right back on Cowboy Storyline. We've got some callers on the line. We've got some text messages. We'll be right back on Cowboy Storyline.
Fall is here, and that means football is back, bringing all the delicious game day foods with it. As you prep for all the big games, tailgates, and watch parties, let Yo Quiero be your one-stop destination for all things home gating. Yo Quiro's fresh, flavorful, ready-to-serve guacamole made with real Hass avocados will score taste bud touchdowns as you cheer on the Cowboys. Yo Quiro's wide range of mouthwatering and versatile products can be found in your local grocery store's produce or deli section. Grab some today.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with pre-game sideline access and photo ops with current players, cheerleaders, and Cowboy legends. You want to stay at a team hotel, attend the best tailgate party in Texas, tour the Star, and talk X's and O's with me, Everson Walls? With Star Sports Tours, you can. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
SeatGeek has your back no matter what kind of Cowboys fan you are. So whether you're a diehard fan or a don't really care fan, a we got 'em next time fan or we'll never win again fan, a here for the tailgate fan or a first one through the gates fan, SeatGeek not only makes buying and selling tickets easier than ever before, they made just about everything else easier too. So whether you're a here every week fan or haven't been here in years fan, SeatGeek has you covered. Download the SeatGeek app today. SeatGeek, your ticket to great Dallas Cowboys seats.
How's Wingstop sound? Crispy, juicy, classic wings. Made to order, cooked to perfection. And sauced and tossed in those 11 soul-satisfying flavors. Paired with hand-cut seasoned fries, house-made honey mustard, blue cheese, or signature Wingstop ranch. And, of course, spicy Cajun fried corn. I think you've heard enough. Get your flavor delivered at wingstop.com.
Back to Cowboys Storylines.
All right, welcome back to Cowboys Storyline. You know, funny things can happen on a break. We can make big changes here. The camera changes, and I'm joined by a guest here. Now, earlier in the day, a local high school here in Carroll is South Lake Carroll, which if you've heard of them, it's because they win about 100 state championships every single year. But they also have a really strong media program, and so we were able to talk with some of them. There was a tour. We went to break, and I was like, hey, bring someone in to ask a question. So introduce yourself into the mic here. I don't even know who we're talking to here.
Hi, my name's Lujain Ahmed, and I'm a senior at Carroll Senior High School.
Nice. And you have a question for this show? Football question?
Football question.
Kind of putting her on the spot here a little bit. They're in the middle, and all of her friends are taking pictures up here and all that.
I know the heat this year has been rough, even for our sports teams. So how are y'all dealing with that, just media wise and sports wise?
Well, we don't fight it. We just go. We go to California. They go to California for training camp. That's kind of what happens. It is true though. You do come back here for about 3 weeks and have practices, and it's a thing. You got to practice sometimes 8 o'clock in the morning. Practice some indoors. There's a Ford Center that they practice in, so you have to be cognizant of that, and you also got to be prepared for games that you were going to play in the heat. I think they thought there might be one in New York, but it was raining and it was night, so it wasn't a big deal. So that's one. I mean, you guys know all about that here in South Lake. So all right, you want to take a phone call? We're gonna take a call here. Let's take a call. Sorry, yeah. We'll do this as your whole staff is over here watching. All right, who do we got here? We've got Nick in Albuquerque.
It's actually Vince in Albuquerque.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Vince in Albuquerque. Apologize.
Right.
Yeah, blame Chris. All right, what's up, man?
So not too much. Another great show. I was going to ask you, what do you think about the offense of the Jets, offense of the 49ers? How much similarity are they to each other?
The 49ers and the Jets?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're not exactly the same. I mean, I think the Brock Purdy's got this thing rolling for them a little bit. You talking about the 49ers? I'm talking about the offense or the defense?
The offense, the offense, because the Cowboys stopped the offense against the offensive teams that are kind of familiar with or similar to the Jets that the Cowboys can maybe stop, because I'm thinking maybe is this a kryptonite for our defensive coordinator? Well,
I guess we'll find out. We'll see if it's more than just one game to kind of do that. Luan, you want to help with that? 49ers and the Jets? I mean, I try to worry about just the Cowboys. I mean, what about you? Do you have any idea about them?
I wish I could say I know a lot about sports, but I really can't. I'm still learning the ins and outs of it. So
no, I thought I would try, because honestly, I don't know as much either about them. I will say this though, I think the 49ers though, they just have a lot more weapons. They have a lot more guys they can go to. They have McCaffrey, they have Debo, they got versatile weapons that they can throw around. The Jets really don't have that. They're relying on they rely obviously on Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall a little bit, but it really starts with the quarterback and the way that Brock Purdy is kind of running that show. All right, thanks for the call there. So, Luan, I appreciate you stopping by. All of your classmates are here. They're doing a tour. This is South Lake Carroll Dragon Media. What do you do in the media? What's your favorite thing to do?
All right. So far, my favorite thing has been shooting football games. It has been fun being on the sidelines, just getting photography, getting video, and honestly, like being in that environment where everyone is just so into the game. Like there's just so much hype and support from our school, from our band, from our cheerleaders. It's such a great environment to me to be in.
Well, it is. It certainly is, and also the expectations. It's very similar to the Cowboys, except for the fact that they've had a lot more success. But when they don't win at South Lake Carroll, it's a big deal, because you guys are expecting to win all the time, and you're doing a great job both in athletics, also in the media. So I appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for
so
being
much.
here. Y'all can kind of finish the tour. We can do the show. So you can join the tour. I think we're ready to go. So
all right.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right. That was Luan Ahmed from South Lake Carroll. Her whole team is out there watching her and shooting videos of there. They are. You can see them there. All right. Thank you so much. Got to throw some curveballs on the show every once in a while, a little bit, try to see. And you know what? We got another one coming tomorrow. I am not going to like this curveball. I can just tell you that. Right now, I'm going to have to change clothes tomorrow in the middle of the show. I'll explain that later. So, sorry about the call of Vince in Albuquerque. A lot of stuff happening there, but just explaining the 49ers and the Jets. I mean, I just think the difference there really, it kind of goes with the way that they run their offense and their quarterback. All right, Byron in Raleigh, North Carolina, still on the line. Byron? You there, Byron? Maybe not. All right. Let's go to some text message questions here. This one is from a 405 number. What do you think of the Cowboys' body language on Sunday? I really didn't like what I saw from leaders like Micah, CD. Seemed like they were not only surprised by the game, but didn't receive much rallying and hyping the each other. I think there's something to be said for that. I really do. I don't think they were. It didn't seem the same, and I think it started obviously with the Trayvon injury earlier in the week, and then when you go and you see some of the injuries that you have, but that's a little surprising to me, because what I said earlier, when they've had injuries before, when Dak was out, they lost some guys, they did rally. So I just think. All in all, they weren't ready to play this game. They weren't as focused as they needed to be, and I think they'll fix that. And I think everyone will. I think the coaches will fix that. I think the players will fix that. I guess and the fans aren't the ones that are preparing, but the fans will have a different focus as well. I mean, I think no longer do you look at 49ers, do you look down the road at the Eagles and stuff like that. You can't do that. You have to look at what's happening now, because this team has shown that they will get beat by a team that they're not ready to play. So I think the focus all the way around will be on the Patriots this week. All right, Erwin in Denver. Erwin, what's up?
Hey, what's going on, Nick? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
Hey, so I got a couple things for you. Little disappointed. I just want your thoughts on it, on what's going on with Brandon Cooks. How come we're not, really getting the ball to Brandon Cooks on some deep plays? And I thought he was brought in to take, that stuff over the top. And it might be an issue. Why didn't we, if that's the case, and McCarthy's running the kind of system that he's doing now, the Texas Coast, it looks like a short game, did we actually get the wrong receiver in free agency, if that's the case? And number two, just wanted to go back to that one caller who was talking about Dak. Mm-hmm. Man, if we could get Dak every game like he played against Tampa Bay last year in that playoff game, I mean, he was like on his game. It was perfect. It looked like he was in the zone. And if we could just get to play like that, I think we can go a long way. So, and I'll just hear what you have to say about that.
I appreciate that. Appreciate the call. Dak, you're right though. I mean, that's what the thing that's kind of weird is that like when Dak played against the Bucs it was a few games ago now. I mean, it was the playoff game, but it wasn't just a good game. It was one of the best games that any quarterback has ever had in the history of the NFL playoffs. I mean, it was in that type of performance. But then he comes back the next week. They don't play as well against San Francisco. It's a different type of game, obviously a different defense. And he throws some interceptions, trying to force it. At times they didn't have enough playmakers, and they lost. And that's the game that's kind of gets carried over into the offseason. And it really doesn't get brought up again until he has another interception. I don't think Dak lost the game last week. I mean, I don't think that was necessarily the reason. Going back to Cooks, though, I think Cooks is a perfect person for this offense. So because Cooks is a possession receiver with speed, so that type of stuff. He's played 2 games. He's played one game really where they could really throw the football around, when that's last week. They weren't that effective. Nobody really was. Gallup kind of had some nice plays. He had a couple. Cooks had some plays. It's really been one game that you can kind of evaluate where Cooks is in all this. So again, a little too early to go there. All right, David in Fort Worth is next. David, what's up? David, you there?
Oh, yes, sir. Can you hear me?
I can. What's up?
Okay, sorry about that. I didn't hear you.
It's okay.
Greet me initially. I just wanted to call in. I couldn't call in unfortunately yesterday, and I'm finding out that I got to change my name, man, because you got a lot of Davids that call in now. So, I just wanted to touch on. You're literally talking about it on the screen right now, so I don't want to repeat pretty much, but I want to start off by saying Romo is my favorite Dallas Cowboys quarterback of all time. Again, I'm 32. I didn't live through all the glory years and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I think we got to put this Dak and Romo comparison to rest already, man. Like, a lot of people call in and talk about, if Romo had this team or if Romo had that team, and Romo doesn't. Romo's living a great life now. He's moved on. I think we need to move on as well. Dak's our guy. A lot of people I can imagine these same callers that are like, see, like last season, Dak's not our guy. He's bad, yada, yada. And then the Buccaneers game comes, and they're like, maybe I was wrong. Maybe he is our guy. And then the 49ers game comes, and they're like, see, I knew it. I was right. And it's just, I don't feel like people are just giving him the grace that they wanted people to give Romo. Like, he's going to make mistakes. He's a fourth round pick for a reason. I think he's good enough to do the job. Sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. Another thing that I wanted to touch on was we had a caller earlier that was talking about Brandon Cooks, but last week we had callers that were talking about Michael Gallup and that he's not involved enough. And it's just, the game's going to dictate who's going to get the ball. Sometimes it's going to happen, sometimes it's not. I think we just got to slow our roll. It's a very frustrating loss, obviously, but just slow our roll a little bit, take it one game at a time, let the offense figure out what the offense is going to be, let Dak get into a rhythm, and then we'll go from there. So a little bit of a rant, but
that's okay. That's okay. Thanks, David. I mean, and that's the show to do that, is to kind of rant a little bit after that. These are kind of the callers that I thought we would have yesterday a little bit, and that's okay. I mean, like it's frustrating. And Dak, see, here's the thing that kind of bothers me about sometimes, and it's not just fans. It's not just fans. Media does it too. It's like every game, every play, it's like it's the final conclusion. It's like, all right, make your statement on, it's like your closing remarks on this guy, bad game or at least or a bad play. And it's all like, he's not the guy. Don't pay him or whatever. Don't give him the contract, or he's not very good, or he should be cut. Just different players based off of 1 or 2 games. And I think if you have a small sample size on a guy, it makes more sense. But when you're sitting here and Dak has played now, 7 years in 8th season now or whatever, but it's like, he's built up some equity here, I think, to withstand an interception here or there, especially when he makes some great plays as well. Dak versus Romo, It's the same guy right now. I mean, it's the same. Like, Romo does things better than Dak. Dak does things better than Romo, but the result has been the same. The playoff success or lack of success is about the same. Yes, I think Romo played the game differently, but for the most part, these two guys, their careers have been about the same. One guy started as a rookie and played. Another guy waited, had to wait 4 years or so to get his opportunity. But still, kind of took the league by storm when they both were doing what they did. I mean, I don't sit there and kind of go one versus the other, because they both, their careers have been about the same, and they're both, I think they're both really good quarterbacks. I think they're both underrated because of the grief that they get every single negative play. I think that it's the nature of the business, but it's also the nature of the business when you haven't won, and in every single play they get kind of judged by it. All right, going back to the text line question about that, Mike from Boston and the caller Rob from Vegas also talked about Dak's money. What do you think the Cowboys do you think the Cowboys will take a long, hard look at Dak and consider not giving him a huge contract? I mean, what are they going to keep giving this guy money for mediocrity? I mean, seriously, he's not somebody who can raise a team when the defense is playing bad. He had tons of talent and hasn't done anything. Don't agree with that. And I don't expect that to be a call, somebody to call in and say that. I think, I don't think they've had tons of mediocrity. I really don't. I mean, that's not him. That's not his stats. That's not what he is. He's been a really good quarterback, and he's been a good leader for this team. And, if you don't think that matters, then you haven't played football, or you haven't been in a locker room. You haven't played any sport. Then really, I mean, if you don't think that there's a level to all of this stuff, I don't agree with people that think that they've lost confidence in him. I think they have confidence in Dak to go make plays. He's done it. This team hasn't had the success that you wanted, but if you go and look at what they've done while he's been the quarterback, I don't think this is a mediocre team, and I don't think it's a mediocre quarterback. Now they have tough decisions to make just because they're kind of getting up against it with the cap, but I think they'll work it out, and I think that he'll be the quarterback for this team for the next few years. I do think they're going to make something happen there. That's just what I believe. I think that's the way Jerry operates. I think that's what he wants. He wants to win with Dak, and I think he feels like he's trying to give him the pieces around him where he can do that. All right, we got a couple more callers on the line here. Johnny in Ridgeville, South Carolina. Johnny, what's up?
Hey, Nick, we'll Big Suey.
What's up?
Hey, I tell you what, I listen to some of your callers with awe and amazement sometimes. Anybody who watched that game and came back with the problem is Dak, I don't know what you were watching. Dak didn't hold. Dak didn't jump off sides. I mean, guys got to get open.
Yeah.
And they were not getting open. And I started to mention it yesterday, but on the throw down in the end zone to CD, I know CD thinks he's going to get that call. He's got to at least try to catch that ball.
Yeah.
And it didn't look like a lot of effort there.
Yeah.
I don't usually dog him out for anything, but that
didn't look right. That looked kind of yeah. I agree with you there.
And then the other thing, the guys that think that I tell you what, tell me who you're going to replace Dak with, and how much you're going to pay, because there's teams around this league that will take Dak Prescott in a second.
Yeah, I agree.
He is that good.
Yeah.
And does that mean he wins? That he's going to make every throw? No. But I think that's ignorant.
Well, I appreciate the call, and it's a risky business. I think what teams are seeing, or fans, I think what fans are seeing is, who are your two biggest challenges in the NFC? 49ers, Eagles. That's what you think. You can throw the Cardinals in there if you want because they just beat them. But I mean, I think we think that those are the two top teams, and they got a quarterback in the 7th round. They also got a quarterback in the 2nd round who everyone thought was more of a runner, and now look at him, look what he's doing now. And so I think that's the notion. You could just do that, but go back and look at all the other quarterbacks drafted by other teams that aren't doing as much. So if you think you want to just do that and say, all right, let's just give me a 3rd round quarterback, some guy that can do this on the cheap, good luck with that, because there's a lot of guys in the league that don't have that kind of success. Those two have struck gold with that, and it's helping them. Let's try to get one more call real quick before we finish this show. Alan in Long Island, New York. Alan, close us off here.
Hey, Nick. Nick, good morning. I'd just like to give a shout-out to you and the rest of the company, Broadus, Patrick Nosey Walker. You guys do first-class work, and it's honestly a pleasure to listen to you and the rest of the DallasCowboys.com.
Thank you.
I'd just like to piggyback on the Dak talk. I specifically remember last year when you were on the Cowboys break, when Cooper Rush was running the show for a couple of games.
Mm-hmm.
You got a little pushback from Eagleton, who was also excellent, that you were okay with letting Cooper Rush manage the game. He didn't hardly made any mistakes. He let the defense, control the clock, or let the offense control the clock. And you were like, listen, I know Dak's coming back, but maybe we should, keep it going with Cooper Rush. And I know you got a lot of pushback for that. But my question is, at what point does the Cowboys organization just say enough is enough with Dak? He's a great leader. He speaks excellent. Everything he says everything right. He represents the Cowboys organization in a great way. But at what point does Mr. Jones and the rest of the family just say, enough is enough, we have to move on? We cannot waste any more money on this guy.
Thanks for the call. Let me clarify on that, on the Cooper Rush. You can go back and look at every single one of them if you want, and I'll tell you exactly what I said. I never said that Cooper Rush is a better quarterback than Dak, or to the point where he's a better option. What I said is that if this guy has won 5 games in a row, I'm not taking an undefeated quarterback and putting him on the bench. I'm not doing that right now, especially when a guy who's rushing back from a thumb injury. I'm not doing that. So if Cooper Rush goes and wins this game against the Bengals, and then he wins against the Giants, and then he wins against, I think, Washington, and then he goes to the Rams and they win, and I was like, if you go to Philadelphia and you win this game, I'm playing him. I'm gonna play him right now until he loses a game. That's what happened with Dak. That's what we saw with him. They was about to come back for Romo, but he kept winning. Everyone knew Romo was a better quarterback than Dak at that point in his career. Everyone knew that, but the guy kept winning. So, same type of thing, and that's all that I said there. I do think Cooper Rush has a beautiful deep ball throw. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of throws. He just got that one. So that's one thing that I have said. To answer the second part and the question that you're asking, it's when they take a huge step back, and it's because they feel like he's the guy that's the reason why they're taking a step back. This team's won 12 games 2 years in a row. They've made it to the playoffs. They're competing. They're in the dance to try to win it. I think when they realize that they're not one of those elite teams in the NFC, and the reason is because they just need better quarterback play. When they come to that realization, that's when they'll probably make a change. I just don't think that they're there yet. I don't think they see it that way. And let's get all the pieces back here. Let's get this offense rolling like they expect it to be, and let's see what happens. It's been 3 games. I mean, when it was 2 games, it was are they going to get the bye in the playoffs? Now it's been 3 games, and now it's just changed the quarterback. Let's just let this thing roll out, and we'll see what happens. All right. We'll do this tomorrow. It was a fun show. For Chris Beam, I'm Nick Eatman. We'll see you tomorrow on Cowboys Storyline.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!